Hey y'all, so I just want to make a video about the state of American politics in 1800 because in 1800 our country was a lot different but a lot the same. Like that's what you realize when studying history is that not everything but everything's been done before. Like we're not new in many aspects. I say that because in hold on, there you go. Because in 1800 they okay, let's take it from step one. The main, like, this is what the map of the United States looked like in terms of slave states, free states, slave territories, and free territories, and then other. Because what, like, our Midwest basically was owned, the modern day Midwest was owned by Spain. This would be owned by Britain and slash America. Parts of Minnesota were owned by United Kingdom, also owned by Spain, and also owned by Spain. So all of the Midwest and like this, what would now be called like border country by some people, um, was owned by Spain. California was owned by Spain. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Um, but yeah, these also Georgia and Mississippi were territories still in 1800. Anyways, um, but yeah, obviously you got all of the northern, not all of the northern states, because New Jersey and Delaware and Maryland, there are still slave states. So it's not because what I thought would happen is, okay, Virginia, Kentucky, but everything above Virginia and Kentucky would, you know, be free because they're northern. But no, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, they're still slave states. Also, issues in 1800, the ones that I came off the top of my head were the role of government, the French Revolution, slavery, and the quasi-war slash XYZ affair, which would then later come in the 1800s. I mean, in the election of 1800. But also another big thing that happened. It happened in 1796 as well. In the late 1790s, but it started picking up speed really in the 1799 and the 1800 election of the two-party system, because George Washington, as everyone knows, he wanted to be as nonpartisan as possible, not even bipartisan, nonpartisan. He didn't, I don't believe he liked the idea of parties, like he didn't. And he tried that for as long as he could, which lasted 8 years. And I don't believe John Adams was a part of a political party in 1797 when he was inaugurated. But if he was, he would have been a Federalist. So maybe no, because George Washington is the only non-partisan president. So actually, he was. John Adams was a Federalist. I put him on the right just because he looked this way, but in reality, he would be a left-wing politician because he and the Federalists, I believe, were the predecessors to the Whigs, which were the predecessors to the Republican Party. But I just want to make it very clear that the Federalists are not the Republican Party of today. It's just that's how, because when a political party like stops existing, it goes through a transition period where in the end it comes out with new ideas and new everything. But I have wanted to start a series where I go over like politics. This would be like politics in 1800, and the next would be like in 1810, and like by every decade basically. Um, but yeah, the politics in 1800 was very much based on whether you were a merchant slash a merchant slash business class in the north, or a because we're not in the industrial revolution yet. That wouldn't start for another decade, no, decade or two. But yeah, it was really based on whether you were in the north, and by north I mean that included New Jersey, I imagine, but the northern merchants who traded a lot and that's why they didn't, but they did like tariffs because they I believe it was because they wanted, like, because their businesses, it would be cheaper to buy their stuff than it would foreign products. While Southerners didn't like that because Southerners also traded. You know, they are also on the coast. Everyone's on the coast basically, other than Kentucky and Tennessee. So like, even like the Southern plantation owners were having to trade their cotton with Britain, and so they didn't like tariffs because if tariffs were in place, then their Britain wouldn't want to buy their cotton. It's all that. Anyways, so then um, yeah, the election of 1800. It was a bitter contest. It was basically a redo of 1796 because both of these candidates ran in 1796. It's just that John Adams won, and then Thomas Jefferson ran again because he didn't. He because who else really other than Thomas Jefferson would run in 1800? Aaron Burr, no. Rather than James Madison, James Monroe, but they were only like 45 at the time. So, which, anyways, oh, but yeah, as you can see, also Thomas Jefferson, he very much ran on this idea of like giving voice to farmers. He really was into the idea of America being a place for, like, America was a land of the farmer, the plantation owner, the bigger by your bootstraps, like that whole mentality was him. Like it was him in persona. It just, he really wanted America to be dominated by farmers, plantation owners, people basically not the wealthy class, as like not wealthy. Well, plantation owners were wealthy, some of them, but not northern. He didn't like, let's say, he didn't like very much the northern merchant class. I imagine he would have thought that they were too high class, too snotty. But this guy, on the other hand, he, I don't like him either. So it's like, I don't like some of his stuff, and I don't like some of his stuff. That's the thing about politics when you go back so far, that the parties are just different. They just believe fundamentally different things than the parties do now. Because also, while this guy would have, he supported, what did he support? He obviously didn't support tariffs, but he did support, I imagine he would have supported universal male suffrage, but he never, like, I don't believe he ever tried that while he was president. But my goodness, I can't think right now. But oh yeah, the Democratic Republicans, they were just a party that usually of a lot of Southern people, and there were Northerners, obviously, because New York and Pennsylvania went, and they were both free states. But what I do know is that the Federalists and John Adams, his administration was a kind of a failure. It just like was not. It wasn't good. It didn't go well, because during the Quasi-War, the French were not treating our American, like merchant ships well, and he did not, respond well to that. He apparently, one of his officials bribed, like the French asked for a bribe, and I don't know if we did actually give them the money or not, but it was something else. It was something else. Slavery, I also put as an issue because obviously slavery will always be an issue no matter what time you're in, because slavery is just, it's both, I don't know whether to think of it as natural or unnatural. I don't know, I'd have to do more, thinking on that. But slavery, it's always been an issue. It will always be an issue. Yeah, it wasn't as big of an issue. That's why I put it more further down on the list, because it wasn't as big of an issue in 1800 as it was. Obviously, it was to the slaves, to the many slaves in the South that, were living, not being able to partake in this election, not being able to have their voice heard at all. But, yeah. But to the people who could vote and to the national politics of it all, slavery was not brought up. other than for the South to be like, don't add another state unless if it's an equal number of slave and free states. Like that, literally, that will drive the Union apart in 60 years from then, from 1800, from 60 years from now, where it will drive the country. It did drive the country apart because the South kept saying, "Oh, we have to have the same number of free and slave states," and then whenever the North would, I truly do believe in the theory and the idea that the South basically controlled politics. It just did. Like, it just did. Because even though the North had the numbers by 1860, we kept electing Democrats. Like, America kept electing Democrats, Northern Democrats, usually. But, like, the South really did control a lot of the agenda. But and any move that would even attempt to slow down the expansion of slavery was aggressively, like, not liked by the South and would be protested, rioted, all of it. That's why it happened in Bleeding, Kansas in 1853, I think, or 1856. Yeah, the point is also role of government, because this buddy right here, this guy, John Adams, he also decided to shut down freedom of speech with his Alien and Sedition Act. So that people didn't like that. People didn't like that, as you can see. People didn't like that. So if I had the ability to vote in 1800, I would have been very torn, because I do believe in some of the Federalist goals of a national bank and roads to connect places, and or is that the Whigs? The Whigs are later, but the Federalists, I think, did believe in the national bank. But I probably would have. Oh, I don't know. I think I would have voted for Thomas Jefferson simply because of the XYZ affair, but also because of the Alien and Sedition Acts. Those would have tipped me over the edge to vote for Thomas Jefferson. But I wouldn't have been an ardent supporter of Thomas Jefferson, let's say that, because I don't like some of his policies. Like the Democratic Republicans, they also wanted, I believe they were a fan of immigrants, which I'm not. Now that sounds bad, because I just earlier said that I didn't agree with. I don't like illegal immigration, and I don't imagine Thomas Jefferson was all for illegal immigration either. But like, I believe the Democratic Party was the party of the immigrant, and which means open borders, I imagine, which is just oof. But maybe the term, like, the immigrant party was different in 1800 than it is now. I don't know, maybe. But something that I don't like about the Democratic Republicans is that they, like, during Thomas Jefferson's administration, he basically got rid of the Navy and the Army, and he downsized it to as much as he could. Like, that's not needed. That's not, you're just asking to be invaded at that point. Like, it just, but yeah, I think John Adams's XYZ affair and Alien and Sedition Acts would have tipped me over the edge to vote for Thomas Jefferson. But I would have loved to vote for John Adams. It's just like, and I would have loved to have voted for John Adams I would have if he didn't do that, you know? Anyways, but that's just my opinion and my mainly factual parts of the video, talking about some of the things that were going on in 1800, what the country looked like in 1800, what the elections was like in 1800, and at the end, my opinion on who I would have voted for. But it'd be nice to make more of these types of videos. But also, I am about to make a video about, and I want to start it's going to be just a two-parter. The first part will be on the ups and downs, it'll be titled The Ups and Downs of the Democratic Party, and part two will be the ups and downs of the Republican Party. Because, there's a lot in the history of our current two-party system. But yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.